Hey everybody, it is Anthony here, and today, as you can see by the title, I am going to be doing my Xbox 360 game collection video. This is my number one requested video, and it has been for a long time, and I'm going to be doing an update to it. As you can tell by the title, this is part one of five. I'm going to be doing 5 parts of these. I'm actually going to be talking about the games, because last time when I just showed the games, a lot of people really wanted me to give my 2 cents on each of them. So that's what I'm going to be doing this time, and each of these stacks is going to be one video. So over the course of about a week, I'll be rolling these out. So we're going to start off with this first stack over here on the left, and then each episode is going to be each stack. So I hope you guys enjoyed this series because you've been requesting it, and let's get right into it. So over here, they're in some kind of alphabetical order. When I took them all down, they kind of got mixed up a little bit. So we'll see how neat my organization is. Over here, the very first one at the top here, we have Crackdown. This game was completely overlooked when it first came out because it came with the Halo 3 beta. And once people actually got around to playing it, they found out that it is actually a fairly decent game. I didn't even buy it for the Halo 3 beta. I bought it used afterwards. At the time, I already had the beta from someone else, so I didn't need to buy this. But I did actually play this later on in its life cycle, obviously when it was cheaper, and I had quite a bit of fun with it too. It's a nice open world game, lots of fun, cool shell shading graphics, and it just looks really nice. Next up here is Condemned. And this is one of the earliest games I got for the 360, and it is one of the scariest for the 360. So if you're into survival horror kind of games, it's really good, or at least it was back then. I've heard some people tell me that it hasn't aged very well. But if you like survival horror, give Condemned Criminal Origins a try. I actually really enjoyed it. It's very scary. Next up is History Channel's Civil War: A Nation Divided. Now this game is one of the only games I've ever played that takes place during Civil War, and the one thing I do like about it is the reload time isn't ridiculously long. And I think that's really cool because, if you're playing like a Civil War game or even before that, like if you were to play like a Revolutionary War kind of game, the reload times would be like 30 seconds. And it's just not very fun. In this one, they kind of sped it up and they included lots of guns that have maybe like 5 shots or like 6 shots or something like that. So I don't know exactly how accurate that stuff is because I'm not a huge gun aficionado, but I did have a little bit of fun playing this. It's not as bad as you might think. I mean, it's pretty bad, but it's not as bad as you'd think. Next up is Call of Duty Black Ops. This is the last Call of Duty game I got. I never got Modern Warfare 3. I wasn't interested. I got the Prestige Edition of this one, and I'm not going to bring the Prestige Edition down. And that's going to be another note I'm going to make here. I have a lot of limited and collector's edition games, and I'm not going to be showing them unless they're already in the stack here that I put on my shelf, but some of them have really big boxes, and I'm not going to bring those down. So if you want to see my collector's edition, special, limited, whatever, my whole collection of those, I'll have a link in the description and an annotation on the screen right now, and you can see all the ones I have. So now back to Call of Duty Black Ops. It's got a really great story mode, because at least I think so, because I like being able to play as one character. That's one of the other things I don't like about the other Call of Duties is you're switching characters too much. I just like one character, getting to know that person, and then maybe getting to know some people around you. And that's the kind of feel you get for Black Ops. And it's got a fairly decent multiplayer. I wasn't too big into it. There's a couple maps I really liked, like Nuketown. I like some stuff they did with the game too, online-wise. And I like the Zombies mode. That's always fun stuff. So Black Ops is pretty good. I'm sure almost everyone has it though. Modern Warfare 2, probably one of my least favorite of the Call of Duties. I have the Prestige Edition of this. Online was broken the entire time I played it, and that was for like the first 5 months, so it doesn't leave a good impression. Now we're getting into my favorite Call of Duty, World at War. This I play on a weekly basis, almost a nightly basis. I'm really big into this game. I really enjoy it. I do not hack, and I do not approve of anyone who hacks. So I just love playing this game. I'm a big fan of the World War II setting. I love the guns. I think they're so iconic and memorable. It's just an awesome game. Story mode is cool. Uh, Zombies is really awesome. Co-op story is cool, but in the multiplayer is what I play. So Call of Duty World at War is my favorite, and my second favorite would be Call of Duty 4. It's a great one. Story mode is awesome, really fun, and the multiplayer is what started all this Call of Duty hype. Before this, Call of Duty 2 was big, but not as big as any of the following ones. And this game was really fun. I still play it too, but there's too many cheaters now to even play it, which is a pure shame. Next up is Call of Duty 3. Call of Duty game that got way too much hate, I think. I am not quite sure why so many people hate this. It seems like at the time, everyone hated Treyarch. And for some reason, people still do. And I do not understand why people hate Treyarch. In my opinion, Treyarch makes better Call of Duty games than Infinity Ward. Infinity Ward, if you go and look, okay, in Modern Warfare 2, it was a piece of junk when the online came out. I don't know about it nowadays, but when it came out, it was full of hacks, cheats, glitches, people doing all sorts of stupid stuff. And it was basically unplayable. There's no fun to be had in it. It was just people running around with the 1887s, or they have the Javelin glitch, or multiple care packages, or it was just stupid. And then they have Modern Warfare 3 come out, and that's just not fun either. And I don't understand why people hate Treyarch. This is a fun game. Just because it wasn't the same as Call of Duty 2 or Call of Duty 1 doesn't mean it's a bad game. I really enjoyed this. It's definitely... It's probably my second or third favorite Call of Duty. And it's a really good one. So I'd recommend you guys go play this. The online is completely different from what you would play now. It's a different style of game. But it's still really fun. And that's my little spiel about Call of Duty. So now, Call of Duty 2. This is one of the games that launched with the 360, and it was one that I picked up. A lot of fun playing this one. Single player. When I first played this, and when the 360 came out, this is what showed me like how good next-gen graphics could be, and I was blown away. Me and my friends, because I got the 360 first, and me and my friends would play this game, and it was just amazing. We would play the story mode, and we would play online. It was just so cool. It was so cool. Next up, Brew Legends. This is a Double Fine game that didn't sell too well, but critically it did okay. A lot of people didn't like the RTS elements to it, but a lot of people liked the humor and the style to the game. So I haven't really played too much of it, so I can't really give too much of my opinions on it. But if you like Tim Schafer or Double Fine, I'm sure you already have it. Next up, Burnout Revenge. I do not own any of the other Burnouts on the 360. I believe there's only one other one, and don't quote me on that. But Burnout Revenge was an awesome game. Graphics on this, they were so good. I don't know about nowadays, like I said, but when this came out, this was amazing. And I believe they just took the online down in this, so you cannot play online anymore. But this is still really fun. I had a blast playing that. And the next game is Bully Scholarship Edition. This is basically a port of the PlayStation 2 version, which I actually owned, but I didn't play too much of, and then I picked up this version, and I played through this, 100%ed it. I got every item, everything you could do in this game, and I really loved it. I might go as far as saying it's one of my favorite Rockstar games, and I hope they make a new Bully game, because I really enjoyed it. I liked the whole premise of being at a school, and you're playing as Jimmy Hopkins, and it's just a really cool game. I'd recommend you go check it out. I'm sure a lot of people kind of passed over this, and they go towards like the Grand Theft Autos and the Red Deads because it's a little more violent and stuff like that. This is just kind of like have fun kind of game, you know. Still has a pretty cool premise to it as well. Next up, Bulletstorm. This is the Epic Edition, which I basically bought just for the Gears of War 3 beta. I didn't even play this game until like a month after the beta was over, and I didn't play too much of it because it did get repetitive for me, and I really, really wanted to like it. The first like hour I was playing, I was having a lot of fun, but after a while, the lassoing and kicking it kind of gets a little old. It would be more suited, I think, for like an Xbox Live Arcade game for $20. That would be maybe like 3-hour story mode, something like that. But I haven't played through the whole thing, so maybe the story gets really good. I know a lot of the weapons are really cool and stuff like that, and it's a pretty rewarding game when you do really cool trick shots and stuff like that. Next up, Brothers in Arms. Hell's Highway. This is the last Brothers in Arms games to come out, and it didn't do as well as I hoped. I had really high expectations for this because I liked the other Brothers in Arms games, and it wasn't as good as I thought it was going to be, but it's still fairly decent. It's a tactical kind of World War II shooter, so it uses cover, and it's got destruction and stuff like that, but you kind of command your squad around. You don't necessarily have to, but it's still a pretty fun game. If you like World War II shooter games, you might like this. Check it out. I'd recommend it. Do not play the online, though. It's just a piece of junk. Next up is Blazing Angels, if I can reach. Blazing Angels. I only played a little bit of this, and I wasn't very fond of it. I found it to be quite hard, so I kind of just stopped playing it. But it looked pretty fun. It looked cool when I played it, but I just didn't have fun playing it. So next up is Bionic Commando. This game is just not as good as Capcom hoped it would be, and it's a decent game, but it's nowhere near as good as like the original Bionic Commandos. But it's just a completely different game as well. It's a third-person open. It's a third-person behind-the-shoulder kind of camera, so it's not like a side scroller or anything like that. But it's okay, and I'm sure you can get it very, very cheap now. Next up is Bioshock 2. A lot of people didn't like this, or they thought it wasn't obviously it wasn't as good as the first one, but they kind of felt let down by this. And one thing I just want to note to a lot of people is that Irrational Games didn't make Bioshock 2, and I think that's a common misconception people have with this. Irrational had nothing to do with this, and they openly state that quite frequently. But it is still a decent game. It's good. It's above average, and if you like Bioshock 1, you'll like Bioshock 2. I can almost guarantee it. Next up, obviously, one of my favorite Xbox 360 games, Bioshock. And this is a great story-driven game. Very cool weapons and combat system. The enemies are just awesome. One of the best atmospheres in any game I've ever played. Definitely in my top 5 on the system. I don't know. I can't say much more about Bioshock. Next up is, what do we got here? Big Bumpin', the Burger King games. I have 2 copies. One of them is open, one is sealed. And not much to say about those. They're just arcade games that came in a retail packaging. Next up is Beautiful Katamari. I'm a huge Katamari fan, and this is a great addition to the series. Lots of content here. One thing I did not like was that you had to pay like some ridiculous high amounts for the DLC, but I still did anyways because I'm a big Katamari fan. And if you like Katamari, you'll definitely love this. And if you don't know what Katamari is, you're basically this little person who has this ball that's kind of sticky. I don't know like the whole backstory or anything like that, but you roll up things, and you start off small. So you may start rolling up like a paper clip, and then you can get like a pencil, and then like maybe a notebook paper or something like that. So you gradually get bigger and bigger, and eventually you get to roll up the entire universe. But next up, Battlefield Bad Company. I wasn't too big of a fan of this. I felt that the movements were very bogged down, or you felt very heavy, and I didn't like that. I know a lot of people do love the series, and it's a decent shooter game. I just don't like how it feels. That's just my personal opinion, so that's what opinions are for. Next up is Battlefield 2. Does not do Battlefield 2 justice. Go play it on the PC if you really want to play Battlefield 2. Next up is Batman Arkham Asylum, also one of my favorite Xbox 360 games, and I went into this with, I'll be honest, low expectations. I was expecting a piece of junk, licensed out Batman game, and this turned out to be an excellent game. And even if you're not a fan of Batman, you'll still love this, but if you are, you'll even appreciate it even more that there's a really good superhero game out there. It has a very good atmosphere as well, and the enemies are just awesome. Voice acting is superb. Assassin's Creed 2. I didn't get to finish this one. I just kind of lost interest, and it was a little better than the first one. The first one was quite a bit repetitive, but I'll get into that right now, actually. Here is Assassin's Creed 1. I did finish this one, actually. Yeah, seeing as it was more repetitive, a lot of people kind of just gave up on it. I continued through. I loved the gameplay of it. It was repetitive, like I said, and I just wanted to stay through it and see what was going to happen in the story. So it is quite long, and you kind of do the same stuff. So the combat was what kept me going in this. Next up is, let me get this fixed here. Next up is Amp 3, which is a excellent snowboarding game. And I know that the new SSX came out, and that kind of would trump this now. But before SSX came out, I would say Amp 3 was a good choice to go. Next up, let me pull these ones out here. Next up, Army of Two 40th Day, sequel to the original Army of Two. And this one, it's not as good as the first one. I'm going to say that because I kind of just lost interest in it. It didn't keep me playing like the first one did. And it just feels like kind of more of the same. And in some games that's good, some games it's bad. And in this, it didn't really keep me going. I would actually recommend going with the first one. I had a lot of fun playing this one, especially in co-op. It's really cool. Especially when you got a friend to play with online. It's awesome. And very cool mechanics about how you have to like distract the enemies and stuff like that. So Alone in the Dark, I didn't play too much of this. I just didn't play too much of it. Maybe like an hour. No opinions I can really make on it. The only thing I can say about Alone in the Dark is when you blink, I just remember at the beginning blinking and you actually having to click buttons to blink and stuff like that, because your eyes would, if you didn't blink, your eyes would get all like dried out or something like that. And I remember if you looked in your inventory during the game, it wouldn't pause the game, so I kind of just stopped playing. Next, All Pro Football. Piece of junk. Next up, AC/DC Live Rock Band Track Pack. I got this just so I could import it to Rock Band and play all these AC/DC songs. So they're live though, which it's kind of a bummer because some of them definitely sound different. And but if you like AC/DC, go get this. You can get it for pretty cheap now. Just make sure you buy it brand new because I'm doubting the code will work to import to Rock Band. So there you guys go. That is the first stack of my Xbox 360 game collection. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and please come back tomorrow or in a couple days and check out the other parts. I will have those up fairly soon. And thank you so much for watching, guys. Also, if I get to 5,000 subscribers before September, I will be giving away a brand new Xbox 360 or PlayStation 3. So be sure to subscribe if you haven't already, and maybe go tell someone else to subscribe who likes gaming videos. So thank you guys so much for watching part 1. Part 2 will be up shortly.